Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into a concept that is honestly a total game changer. It's incredibly simple, yet completely transformative. We're talking about Steve Chandler's brilliant strategy for self-motivation, and he calls it Open Your Present. I love that, right? It's such a great play on words because, we usually just think of the present as a standard unit of time, but Chandler is basically saying, no, it's a literal gift. It's a present that you actually have to actively open and appreciate. So today, we're going to figure out exactly how to master the current hour and why doing that is the absolute key to finding your personal freedom and motivation. Let's get into it.
So, let me ask you a really quick question. Right this second, where is your mind? Seriously, check in with yourself for a moment. Are you fully here with me, or is a little part of your brain already drifting off, maybe drafting an email or replaying that kind of awkward conversation you had yesterday morning? It happens to all of us. But Chandler points out that we have this desperate, immediate need to practice actually being awake in the present moment. Because let's face it, most of us are just sleepwalking through our days. We're physically here, but mentally, we're miles away. Making the most of your awareness in this specific hour is the foundational step to changing your life forever.
Chandler maps out exactly why this whole mental time travel thing is such a huge trap. Think about it. When you spend your mental energy living in the past, what happens? The result is almost always guilt. You just endlessly ruminate on mistakes or things you should have done differently. Now, on the flip side, when you obsess over the future, you're basically manufacturing fear and worry over things that haven't even happened yet. So what does that leave us with? Today. Staying totally focused on today is literally the only domain where happiness actually exists. It's a simple formula, really. If you want guilt, look back. If you want fear, look forward. But if you want happiness, you absolutely have to stay right here.
Now, knowing that the present is the only place we can find happiness is great and all, but how do we actually claim it? How do we stop this time-traveling mind of ours? Well, it all boils down to one absolute necessity. You have to master your attention. Think of your attention like the steering wheel of your life. If you take your hands off the wheel, you're going to crash right into the past or the future. It's inevitable. So, mastering your attention just means actively catching yourself when you drift, and then intentionally yanking that focus right back to the immediate reality in front of you.
The writer Emmett Fox really hit the nail on the head with this. He argued that until you can put your attention exactly where you want it, you just haven't become master of yourself. In fact, he boldly stated that you will never be happy until you can determine what you are going to think about for the next hour. I mean, wow. Just stop and think about the weight of that for a second. True self-mastery isn't about controlling the world. It's about controlling your own thoughts. And he sets the bar so accessibly, just the next hour. If you cannot decide what you're going to focus on for a mere 60 minutes, happiness is always just going to slip right through your fingers.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Wait a minute. Shouldn't I have goals? Don't I need to plan for my future? And yes, absolutely. Chandler makes it super clear that there is a very real time for dreaming, planning, and doing all that creative goal setting. But, and this is the kicker, once you are done with that planning phase, you got to put the pen down. Once the schedule is set, your focus has to immediately shift back to living directly in the here and now. The biggest trap we fall into is spending our actual execution time totally stuck in the planning phase.
Okay, so pulling this off effectively actually requires a pretty major philosophical shift. And this brings us to the concept of a microcosm. Chandler invites us to try seeing our entire life as being contained within this very hour. A microcosm is just a miniature representation of something much larger, right? So the challenge here is to let this one single hour become the macrocosm of your complete life. If you want a productive, joyful, totally engaged life, well, just have a productive, joyful, engaged hour. Don't stress about the next 50 years. Just pour all of your excellence into the 60 minutes sitting right in front of you. To really help us grasp the beauty of this, Chandler brings in a quote from the poet William Blake, who perfectly captured what this kind of enlightenment looks like. He wrote, "To see a world in a grain of sand, and heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity in an hour." It's beautiful, isn't it? It just expansively illustrates what happens to our perception when we finally stop rushing. When we take our universe and condense it down into a single, fully appreciated hour, time actually expands. It literally feels like eternity because, for once, you are finally truly awake for it. And the energy completely shifts when we realize what happens when you fully embrace this mindset. We are talking about a radical trade here. Think about how much time we waste just going through the motions, completely on autopilot. The historical novelist Sir Walter Scott had a deeply passionate perspective on this. He saw the immense value of just one fully lived hour, especially when you compare it to years and years of just going along with the crowd. Scott declared that he would gladly trade whole years of mindless conformity for, as he put it, 1 hour of life crowded to the full with glorious action and filled with noble risks. I mean, think about the sheer energy in those words. 1 single hour of glorious action and noble risk is worth infinitely more than years of playing it safe and boring sleepwalking conformity. And that's exactly what mastering the present hour allows you to do. It lets you inject that glorious action into literally whatever you are doing right now.
Okay, so how do we take all this high-level philosophy and turn it into an actual, actionable process for our own lives? It comes down to a surprisingly simple 3-step mental checklist. First up, you have to relax. Why? Because tension and anxiety naturally trap you in the future. Once you finally relax, then you can actually move to step 2 and pay attention to what is right around you. And once you're paying attention, then you can direct your focus exactly where you want it. Chandler notes that it's absolutely amazing what people can accomplish when they simply learn to follow these 3 little steps and truly appreciate the opportunity hidden in the present hour.
And speaking of appreciation, Chandler points out this super fascinating cultural contrast. Here in America, we try to cultivate an appreciation of art. Like we stand in a museum and try really hard to appreciate a specific painting. But over in Japan, they cultivate the art of appreciation. You see the difference? It means appreciation itself is the art form. And you can apply it to anything, a cup of tea, a quick conversation, or even just the walk to your car. You can absolutely cultivate this active art of appreciation in your own everyday life.
When you learn to relax, focus, and really cultivate that art of appreciation, you arrive at this profound realization. This hour is pure opportunity. Not tomorrow, not next year when you finally get that promotion. Right now, whatever hour you are currently living in is absolutely brimming with potential. You get to choose your attitude, you get to choose your focus, and you can choose to make it an hour of glorious action. To really drive this home, let's look at the ultimate stakes of time management. Because, let's be real, none of us have unlimited hours. Chandler brings up this incredible story about the great French philosopher Voltaire, specifically looking at his deathbed and his final 24 hours of life. It's one of those stories that just strips away all of our illusions about time and completely forces us to look at what actually matters. So, someone actually asked the dying philosopher, if you had 24 more hours to live, how would you live them? And Voltaire simply replied, 1 at a time. It is such a profound, poignant reminder. Even at the very end, when time is your absolute most scarce and precious resource, life just cannot be bulk processed. It can only be lived exactly the same way it always has been, 1 single hour at a time.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today and leaves us with one final, deeply provocative question for you. How are you going to live your next hour? Not the rest of your life, literally just the next 60 minutes. Are you going to slip back into the past and court guilt? Will you project into the future and invite fear? Or are you going to relax, pay attention, focus, and crowd this next hour to the full with glorious action? The choice is entirely yours. Master this hour, and you master yourself. Thanks for learning with me today, and I really challenge you. Go open your present.